But hey, that's just the way it is. That's the rules of the game, right? But it's good to know the rules. And this actually explains how TV networks do something like that. You're thinking hot. You're thinking, where's the funnel cakes? Is the fair here?
The science fair.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we do need to cut this short then, because that's important. Anyway, here's the Kansas-Memphis game. Let me just make a video on this. Because Johnny's not here that way. He was the inspiration for this. But anyway, what I was looking back was this game right here. Let me show the video. This is not the end of the game, but this is what decides the game. This is what decides the game. Anyway,
Here.
2008 NCAA.
Oh, I was 1 year old.
1 year. But this is oftentimes considered one of the greatest.
I think I wasn't even one yet, because if that was in March, my birthday's in July, so I was probably like 8 months.
Okay.
No, probably like 7 months.
Yeah, it was the end of March. Yeah, 2008. I was in upstate New York at Fort Drum, New York. I did some math, and I said, "Hey, I want to track this." I did some math. I tracked it. Scatter plot. I tracked it. Oh, I know where it is. Let's just play the video though, and then I'll show you. Well, you'll see it. I tracked it mathematically, did a time series, and then you can actually see why that was a great game. And our Super Bowl, the last Super Bowl we had, was not. It shows up in the graph how those are not great games. So.
Well, we do have the graph. That's nice. Let's see. Oh, I think I go here.
Season, then they started to concentrate, but they didn't have to concentrate under pressure. This is a big deal right here for this freshman.
Kansas just used its last timeout.
He backed off as well.
Wow.
Look at where his feet are compared to where he released the shot. He's back 1.5 feet.
That's called pressure. He's got one more, and Kansas, at the very least, will have a shot to tie it with 10.8 seconds.
Stayed with that one.
Kansas has made only 2 threes on the night. They must make one here to extend the game. Collins driving, almost lost the handle. Chalmers for the tie. Got it in 2 seconds. Unbelievable. Dozier at midcourt for the championship. No, we're going to overtime in San Antonio.
Jim, the free throws did it and put Memphis in this kind of a position. The free throws did it and put Memphis in this kind of a position.
So, critical piece is that free throw. Let me go over here. In here, that was not just it. So that's exciting, just that little clip. But you can see what I did in this time series. This probably is exciting to me anyway. Did I not put it? Maybe it's in here.
Kansas won in overtime. They did have a 9-point deficit in the final minutes. And we'll see that in this time series graph that I'm about to show. Mario Chalmers was the hero, getting a game-tying shot with 2.1 seconds left, tying the game, sending it into overtime, and then Kansas goes on to win 75-68. We just saw the video. A critical point was the missed free throw. The missed free throw would have ended the game if it would have proceeded after that, just as it did. Because, and the ironic thing is, Kansas had never, they only hit two three-point shots the entire game before that, and then their third was a game-tying wild play like that. Kansas went on to win. 1 point, 1 free throw, one thing determined the fate of this game. Not the points scored in overtime. That was the key thing, in my opinion. And this game also was back and forth. This is going to definitely show up on the time series. And as it says, it's often regarded as one of the greatest championship games in NCAA history. Three-point shot. What I did was I was able to use Super Grok here to research three-point shot reporting. And this is the time it initially got, and I started working with these times. And notice how the data was how much time was remaining. But I wanted to reverse engineer that, taking on the fact that each half is 20 minutes, and then add on starting the second half at like a 21 minute. From there on, I wanted to convert that over. I started doing it by hand just to get an idea of what I was getting, and I was trying to get a time clock function going and then have that related to what's remaining. And I continued on through this path. I was trying to work out something. I was envisioning a 3-variable function in this way. As you can see, time, Memphis, and Kansas. I color-coded it a little bit here. And that's what I was looking for, was a function in that way. And then I started the second half. And that's where, notice I converted it completely to seconds. So 20 minutes becomes 1,200 seconds, so we add to 1,200, so the whole game would have been 2,400. And here's where the final I just take it through here, and I'm like, okay, I got this pattern, let me see what Grok can do and if it can establish a pattern. And it did very well. However, it reverted back to what it had found before with time remaining. However, it found some new details and put in some better times, more accurate times. Not exactly what I want, but hey, this is a great little mapping here, and I like it. But let's get back to that. Right now, let's just look at the data. But we do have a great timeline here that Grok was able to do. I just need to go back and put in what I wanted to do with a progressive time. And then I started doing the calculations. This is in TI-83, but before we do that, let's look at what I did in Excel and Google Sheets. Okay, so I have the time series chart over here, and that's what we want to look at. But the first thing I wanted to point out was, Grok gave me this great evaluation of the functions here. But I just wanted to point out it was all great and good. Now I lost. All I want to do is demonstrate. The only thing I had to do was go back and establish that once again Grok has given me time remaining, which is the data it found. It had a hard time me converting it, but anyway, notice that if that first half is 1,200 and then I subtract what Grok gives me, it's giving me a time remaining of 936. Notice that that's 264, which relates over here to my time series graph over here. Let me just try one more here as to just further demonstrate. Notice over here at the bottom, 915, and we should have a 39. So let's figure out where, I think at that point, it should be 2,400 minus what did we just have? I think that's 9 remaining. Okay, let's do it this way. We got to do 1,200 minus what did we have remaining? 915. 915, and then we have that, and then we need to add the 1,200 from the previous half, and then from there we should be able to find our data point, and there it is. See that? 1485. 1485 right there. 1485 right there. 38 to 39. And then what we just converted was from 936. Well, I used 915. 38-39. See how they convert. 38-39. So that's what I did a little bit on. And then from there, I went through the time series graph. And then ultimately, we will compare this to the time series graphs for the Super Bowl. This is considered to be one of the best NCAA championships of all times. The Super Bowl we just had between the Seahawks and the Patriots is considered to be one of the worst Super Bowls ever. And you can see it's pretty predictable how this thing is going to go. And the Patriots just lay there like a slug for 3 quarters. And then what do they end up getting? And I think it was mainly goals the way this whole thing progressed. But anyway, I think Jon Stewart made the comment. He said that it was so bad that it took all the fun out of watching the Patriots lose. Obviously, a Gen Xer who lived through the early, or let's just call them the later, not 2008 when the Patriots were dominating and Tom Brady was deflating footballs, and Belichick and Brady refused to shake the hands of the Giants who beat them in the Super Bowl, and they just walked off while there were 5 seconds remaining. It was a great experience for America to see 2 big babies throwing a fit. Pause. Cerelac. It's good for babies!
Look how excited to eat Cerelac. Papakainin ko siya ng Cerelac.
Cerelac Bananas is a finely milled cereal-style infant food that combines grain powder with banana to create an easy-to-digest, mildly sweet meal for babies when mixed with warm water or milk.
He's gonna eat. Okay, oh. Wow.
It is designed to provide general texture, introduce fruit flavor, and supply essential nutrients suitable for infants starting on spoon-fed solids.
Yummy. Yummy. Thank you, Cerelac. Look like delicious. It's Cerelac. Look.
Pause. Cerelac. It's good for babies! On the national stage. But anyway, I digress. On my dislike for the Patriots. My brother's a Patriots fan, so I can say these things. Anyway, I will continue. Basically, what I'm talking about here is this time series. It's like this. For like Kansas or something. And Kansas ultimately wins, right? Memphis is like this. You see how that could be that's a good game? That's a good game. Back and forth, back and forth. And then Kansas does something right here where they get down behind, and then they come back to hit that. So I'll show you that. I don't know what I did, but I have it somewhere, but I'll show you the times. Anyway, that's what I was going to show you again. It's that whole theory. Math exists. And when you graph something, it tells you something that you don't see. Remember what I showed you? I just showed you what the newspapers reported, times and events. If we turn it into a graph, which took me a little bit. Game over! We see something that we may not solve.